Well, I think the most important thing about understanding the natural resources in North Dakota is knowing that we have some very special places with the prairie grasslands and the wetlands across the state. They cover a very significant area, almost from the Canadian border all the way to the South Dakota border. And they're very unique and they're very productive in that Montana, has the uniqueness of the mountains. Minnesota has the uniqueness of the lakes they have, but North Dakota has the wetlands and the grasslands that are very productive for wildlife and a very special place. Over time, North Dakota has lost a lot of the wetlands. In fact, about 50% of the wetlands that we once had are now gone, which in itself is a little bit of a concerning situation. But on the other hand, that means that 50% of the wetlands are still there, and it provides the opportunity to do some important conservation. And that's why the Clean Water, Wildlife, and Parks Initiative provides such a unique opportunity, because we still do have 50% of the wetlands still out there. Now, grasslands is more of a critical situation. We've lost about 75% of our native grasslands. So there is a real urgency to try to do some conservation work with those native grasslands. And again, that's where the initiative can be very important, because we don't have much time left and there isn't many native grassland areas left. So hopefully some conservation efforts can occur. The main threat that there is to both prairie wetlands and grasslands is just simply the conversion to cropland. There's been tremendous advancements in technology with different crop varieties, shorter growing periods. North Dakota, believe it or not, is now part of the Corn Belt in many areas, where not too many years ago we hardly had any acreage of corn. But there's a variety of other crops that are coming online that allow for a much more diverse opportunity in agriculture. So a lot of these areas, are grasslands and wetlands, are being converted and to other uses, and then to the large machinery and other technology that's available out there puts a lot of pressure on the landscape. Crop prices have been very high, so that puts a lot of conversion pressure on, but that's mostly where the threat is coming from, to grasslands and wetlands. North Dakota has a very diverse economy. It's agriculture, it's recreation, it's tourism, it's of course now oil and gas, but diversity is very important, and North Dakota is very proud of its wild and scenic areas, and yet it takes some investment to protect those areas. And I think that's why the public should be concerned, because we're not putting a lot into investment of protection currently, and we're going to lose a lot of areas if we don't, a lot of very special and unique and important areas. So really there's a lot of urgency right now for the public to understand that, and hopefully to get involved and support this initiative. There's very few programs that actually are very active right now. Everybody knows that the CRP program has really cycled down. There's not a lot of money being put into that program the way it originally was. And then other programs are out there, but they're very small in scale. In fact, every conservation program that we have right now is what we call oversubscribed, which means simply that there's more landowners interested in doing conservation than there is money in programs to address that. In fact, some of the programs have long waiting lists of landowners wanting to do conservation, but there simply isn't enough money. And that's why this initiative is so important, because it's going to generate some real income and allow conservation to work with landowners on programs that's going to save wetlands and grasslands. A lot of people question, well, is this initiative really needed? And if it would pass, is it going to work? And unequivocally, there's no question that it's needed and it will work. And I can say that in so much confidence because we have long lists. There is one program, for example, in conserving wetlands and grasslands that has over 600 or 700 landowners on a waiting list, and literally hundreds of millions of dollars worth of opportunities to do conservation with wetlands and grasslands, but there simply isn't enough money. And so there is no question that there would be success with this program in doing important conservation. All it takes is money. The initiative would provide that. Yeah, there's a lot of different aspects of prairie wetlands and grasslands that are important, and everybody immediately thinks of waterfowl, and North Dakota certainly is one of the most important waterfowl production states anywhere, and so that's key. But there's also a variety of other birds that it supports: songbirds, waterbirds, shorebirds, and other birds. But yet, I think the most important factor is what it does for clean water, and what it does for flood control, and what it does for groundwater recharge. These areas are very important, and they play a very key role in clean water that we have in our lakes, the groundwater supplies that we have that we all rely on. And of course, almost every community has problems with flooding, whether it's the town or whether it's township roads or whatever. And a lot of the retention of water on the landscape occurs with natural wetlands and grasslands. So when we have those areas, society benefits tremendously, not just from wildlife, but from all these other areas as well. In terms of prairie grasslands, it's very important to note that once these prairie grasslands are converted, they're lost forever. There's such a unique combination of grasses and flowers and forbs and insects and microorganisms that once these areas are plowed up and converted to cropland, they're gone forever. We can go back into these areas and plant native grasses and a few plants, but we can never duplicate what Mother Nature has created over thousands and thousands of years. So it's very important to note that we only have 25% of these native grasslands left, and we need to do some conservation to keep that small amount out there before they're lost, because again, once they're lost forever.